Hello and welcome back. This is a video over the 4.8 notes, and this is a video about simple interest. And before we talk about the simple interest formula, I want to talk about what interest is. And it's not something that you like, something that you are interested in, but it's it's a term used in banking and finance to help banks make money. Okay, is kind of how I like to put it. So let's give you a scenario here. Okay, let's give you kind of a story. So if I give you a scenario, let's say that Joe, who's me, Joe has no money. Okay, has no money, but Joe needs money. And let's say that Joe borrows $40 from, say, somebody named Jim. Okay, so Joe has no money. So Joe borrows $40 from Jim. Okay, now Jim's cool with this. Jim is like, hey, I'm cool with you, borrowing this $40 from me, but you have 1 month to pay me back. So 1 month to pay me back. However, there's a caveat, and that is that you will owe $45 for borrowing the money. So or owe 45, and so at the end of the month. So owe 45 at the end of the month. All right, and that extra $5, so the extra $5 is what we call interest, okay? And sometimes interest are things that you can get paid, you can owe interest, all right? You can owe interest. Like if you buy a house, you buy a car, if we see that APR financing, like 1.9% APR financing, that's interest, okay? And that's the percent of like the car that you pay for borrowing the car. So if you have like a car payment or something like that, then you would owe interest. And that's like for like a car payment. But you can also earn interest if you put money into the bank. So if you like have a savings account, you can earn interest in like a savings account. All right. And so account, and that's the idea of like what interest is. Okay. So there's a number of different formulas that, the further you go on in your math career, you'll learn about different types of formulas that are used. But what we're going to focus right now on is what's called just the simple interest formula. Okay. And that's going to be the formula I equals P times R times T. Okay, so I is your interest. Okay, and I just explained what that is. All right, so interest is, and it's either, I think in this case it's going to be money owed. P stands for principal. Okay, and this is your initial amount of money. Initial amount of money. Okay. R is your rate, your interest rate. Okay. And then T is time in years. All right. So we do have to keep this into account. Okay. All right. So it says, what is the simple interest on $2,500 invested at a rate, at an interest rate of 6% for 1 year? Okay. So what you have, you have to identify. You have I equals P times R times T, all right? And so what I do is I like to, list all these variables out and say, okay, I have P, I have R, and I have T. Okay, so I is your interest. Now, we don't know what that is. That's what the question's asking us. The amount that we invest, the initial amount, okay, is this $2,500, okay, that's invested, okay? And when you say invested, that means that like you're putting money into a bank account. That's your principal. So you come in here and we're going to say that your principal is $2,500. Okay. Your rate is a 6% rate for 1 year. Okay, so we're going to do 6. Going to do 6% rate, and that as a decimal is 0.06, so we're going to use this number. And then time is 1 year, okay? And so what I do then is I plug all these numbers into the formula that I have up here, all right? And so I've got this. I don't know what I is, that's what we're trying to find, but that's equal to $2,500 times 0.06 and then times 1 year. Okay, so what you would do, if this is a bank account that you invest money in, I'm just going to multiply 2,500 times 0.06, and that's going to give me 150. And then if I multiply that by 1, I'm just going to get 150. So your interest that you would earn on this is $150. Okay, and that's what you would earn. That's your interest. Okay, and that's all we're trying to find here. Okay, so we just got a formula, using the formula to try to figure out what we're getting. Okay, it says, what is the simple... All right, so now let's look at this one. Now this one's a little bit different. It says, what is the simple interest on a principal of $2,500 invested at an interest rate of 6% for 3 months? Okay, now 3 months is a little bit different. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Let's do the same thing we just did. Let's list out what I is. I is equal to P times R times T. So I is your interest rate, which we don't know, and it's asking that. What is the simple interest? Okay, we don't know what that is. Your principal amount is $2,500. Okay, your rate is 6%, okay, which translates into 0.06 as a number. And then the time is 3 months. But remember, time is in years. So what we have to do is we have to say, okay, well, we're really using this as 3 out of 12 years, okay? Now, this number can be simplified. This number can be, each of these can be divisible by 3. And so your time is considered as 1/4 of a year, okay? And if you wanted to put that into a decimal form, that would just be 0.25. So either one of these numbers will work, but your ability to simplify these fractions and know what they are as a decimal, can help in this process, okay? So if we do this, we plug everything in, I is equal to P times R times T. So I, which we don't know, is equal to P, which is $2,500. So 2,500 times your rate, which is 0.06, and then times 0.25, which is the time. Okay, and that's 3 months out of a year. So this is 0.25. All right, so if I multiply all those together, if I do $2,500 times 0.06, that gives me 150. So let me do this. I've got $150, and I'm still going to multiply that by 0.25. So then I multiply that by 0.25, and that gives me that my interest that we would earn in 3 months is really $37.50. Okay, and that's my interest. All right, and so you can kind of tell, like, if you leave money in an account for a long time, you're going to make more money, okay? But if you just put it in there for a little bit, you're not going to make that much. And a 6% rate, guys, I don't want you to get, like, all excited and be like, oh, I could make that kind of money. They don't really have those anymore, unfortunately, which is kind of a bummer. They used to have them, I guess, back in the day. I don't ever remember anything like that, but yeah, that'd be nice. Okay, the next one we have, it says, to pay for a shipment of lawn furniture, Patio by Design borrows $8,000 at 9 3/4% for 60 days. It says find A, the amount of simple interest that is due, and B, the total amount that must be paid after 60 days. Okay, so this is their borrowing money. So this is a little bit different. This is where they're going to have to pay interest, and it's simple interest, okay? So let's do this. Let's first figure out what A is. Let's figure out what what this initial amount of interest is. So in A, I've got I is equal to P times R times T. So I, the interest, we don't know. Okay, we have no idea what that is. The initial principal that we have is, what was it, 8,000? And then 9 3/4. So your principal was $8,000. Okay. And then your rate is equal to 9 3/4%. And 3/4 is really just 0.75, so you can write this as 9.75%, which as a decimal would be 0.0975. And then your time is 60 days. Now we're going to do 60 days out of 365 because there's 365 days in a year. Okay. And so that's another caveat. Like if you're not given time in years, you're given something else like days or months, you have to put that in terms of a year. And, this is the part of the year out of the whole year. All right. So let's go ahead and just calculate this. So I is equal to, what do we got? 8,000 times 0.0975 times 60 over 365. Now, when I do this, what I do is I'm going to multiply 8,000 and 0.0975. All right. So I'm going to do 8,000 times 0.0975. And that's going to give me 780. Now, when I have this interest of 780, okay, I'm still going to multiply, this is over 1, I'm going to multiply that by 60 and then divide by 365. So I'm going to take these numbers, multiply it by 60, and that's going to give me 46,800. And then I'm going to divide that by 365 still. And that's going to give me, we'll round to the nearest penny, that's going to give me $128.22, okay? Okay, and this is your interest that you must pay. So interest to pay. All right. Now, what we want out of all this is we want the entire amount that needs to be paid. Okay, so, what's the total amount that needs to be paid? So the total amount is going to be $8,000, okay, $8,000 plus $128.22. So if I take 128.22 and add 8,000 to it, then we're going to get 8,128.22. Okay, and that's the total amount that we'd pay. So, yeah, some basic finance and stuff like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was rather informative. Maybe you learned something about what interest is because you hear that word all the time. And things about interest rates and all that kind of stuff. So if you got any questions, let me know. You just have problems 1 through 13 odd, and holler if you got questions. Thanks. See ya. Bye.